time now to talk a little football with our guy from Pro Football Focus, Sam Monson, their lead NFL analyst. Hey, Sam.
Hey, how's it going?
What's up? So, Sam, just without getting into any of the nitty-gritty numbers, do you like the Super Bowl matchup? There are a lot of people that have Brady fatigue, but it's Tampa against KC. Do you like it?
Yeah, I think so. This is probably the second best matchup I think we could have got. I think everyone really wanted to see Green Bay against Kansas City, Mahomes versus Rodgers, given the season that they've had, Rodgers in particular. But the Brady storyline is, too compelling to be a bad matchup. The idea that Tom Brady has this incredible, greatest of all time career in New England, goes to Tampa Bay, who, let's not revise history here. The Bucs have been relatively mediocre for the last several years. They were 7-9 a season ago, and while things were certainly moving in a good direction, Tom Brady is the thing that has transformed this team into a Super Bowl team. Gets them there at the first time of asking, and now he has to knock off the defending Super Bowl champions to make it happen.
Sam, think about this number. Patrick Mahomes, as a starter, is 44-9 in his career.
Mm-hmm. Well, isn't Garoppolo? Doesn't he have some ridiculous percentage too, though?
He does, but think about but he hadn't.
You're comping
Garoppolo. He hadn't won a Super Bowl and been to two.
I'm just saying, when you look at records.
So just think about that, Sam. Including the postseason, 44-9. That's absurd.
I mean, everything about Patrick Mahomes' career right now is absurd. Everything since we saw him, day one in the NFL. Right from he was an intriguing prospect and a guy who clearly had a ton of talent, but there were major and real question marks about how he would translate to the NFL level. Everything he did at Texas Tech was outside of the structure of the offense. Nobody had any idea whether he could rein himself in and play within the structure of an offense and, do all the normal things in addition to the crazy sidearm, all the throws that he makes now. And obviously he could and showed it from basically the first time he got onto an NFL field. And then from that point on, 3 straight years of PFF grades above 90. Good quarterbacks can go their entire careers without ever breaking that barrier. Every number that's attached to Mahomes right now is absurd, in addition to the wins that come along with it.
Well, plus Mahomes that gets to throw to maybe the greatest tight end in NFL history in Travis Kelce. The numbers he's been putting up. I mean, he's putting up crazy wide receiver 1 type numbers, not even top tight end numbers. He had a season for the ages this past year. Last year, dealt with some injuries, still put up good numbers. And you would have to think the way he's performing, with Patrick Mahomes, he's going to keep doing this for, I would guess, the next 2 or 3 seasons at least.
Yeah, Kelce is playing at an incredible rate, and it's amazing. Gronk is on the other team. Gronk is basically washed, has already been retired once, feels like an old man at the position. Gronk and Kelce are basically the same age. There's a couple of months between them, but they feel like they're in completely different eras of their career. Gronk basically in the twilight, almost done, and Kelce in the middle of his prime, set to go on a run of incredible record-breaking years with Mahomes there. It is crazy. And, it's not just Kelce. They've got Tyreek Hill as well, who's one of the most dangerous weapons in the NFL. And that's one of the reasons that the wins and the Chiefs have been as strong as they are, is that it isn't just Mahomes. Mahomes on his own is one of the greatest quarterbacks the league has seen already. He's arguably the best player in the NFL. But he isn't just doing it on his own. He's throwing to one of the greatest tight ends the game has ever seen. He's throwing to a guy in Tyreek Hill who's completely uncoverable at all levels of the defense. And that's, you add all those things together with Andy Reid, who's one of the best offensive minds in the game. That's why this offense is unstoppable, not just because it's Mahomes.
When you look at the numbers, if you're Todd Bowles and you're preparing for Kansas City, is there a best way to attack Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs' offense? What can they do?
That's the real problem, because Mahomes is one of those quarterbacks that he's reached this area of there not really being a good game plan to stop him. And that's what's truly terrifying. Is usually with a lot of quarterbacks, you at least understand how you're supposed to attack them, even if that won't necessarily work, because they're so good. With Mahomes, there is no supposed to. There's no game plan. There's no blueprint for how you're supposed to get it done. If you blitz him, He's got a PFF grade above 90 against the blitz this season, a passer rating of 136. He's going to carve you up against the blitz. If you sit back and let him beat you or without pressure, he's got the best PFF grade in the NFL when he's throwing from a clean pocket. He's going to carve you up that way as well. You can cause him some problems by getting him under pressure, but that's not an easy thing to do. The Raiders did a good job of sort of sitting back, waiting for him to break contain, and then charging after him the second he left the pocket, and that's as well as anybody has done. The Patriots have done a good job of slowing him down, but the Patriots have, horses on the back end in terms of cover guys that most teams don't have, so that's not an easy blueprint to replicate. Yeah, there isn't a good answer for how to stop Mahomes, and that's why they're so successful.
Well, when they played each other in the regular season, they certainly didn't stop him. He threw for 462. He had 37 completions. 13 of those were to Hill. Hill had 269 receiving yards in that game. And I think both safeties for Tampa are banged up, Winfield and Whitehead. Whitehead had that injury in the NFC Championship game. So, what can they do in the secondary? I mean, what do you do with Hill? Because if you double or do whatever, you bracket Hill, Kelce always seems to be wide open in the middle of the field. They find ways to get those guys open.
Yeah, and critically, they definitely do need to make some adjustments, but I think they did make some within that game. Like Hill had, I think, 200 yards in the first quarter, something ridiculous like that, and then they at least made some adjustments as that game went on, and tightened it up more on him, and he didn't have that big a game for the rest of the game. But that can't happen again. You can't have a perfect passer rating throwing to Tyreek Hill, have him put up almost 300 yards and 3 scores and expect to win the game. You're going to have to force them to do something else. But as you said, the second you tighten up on one guy, somebody else is wide open. And again, that's why this Chiefs offense is so unstoppable. If you figure out a way of taking away Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill is one-on-one on the outside, and that's a problem. If you do the reverse, Travis Kelce is beating guys one-on-one all day and taking big plays all the way to the end zone. And then somehow if you manage to button up both of those guys, there are other weapons on this offense that can have big games. And we've seen, Sammy Watkins have huge games in the past where teams have dedicated everything to shutting down Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, and Sammy Watkins suddenly has a monster day as well. This Chiefs offense is so diverse, it's so deep in terms of weaponry that it's just incredibly difficult to go up against.
Yeah, I think they're going to smoke them. Tyreek Hill, can you give us a comp? Because, when you watch the replays, how quickly he gets off the line, it's like unreal. Is there anybody that you can compare him to in recent years?
No, there isn't one. Tyreek Hill, I can't think of a single player who has Tyreek Hill's combination of quickness and speed. So he can run basically as fast as Randy Moss in a straight line, but he has the short area quickness of Dante Hall at the same time. And, if you cross Dante Hall with Randy Moss, you might get something like Tyreek Hill. The blend of speed and quickness he has is unique. I can't think of another player that's had that. And it means that you can't cover him. There's no one player on defense that has both of those things. So if you find a guy that can run with him down the field, there's no way that guy can handle the quickness and the short change direction skills that Tyreek Hill has. And the reverse is true. If you find a guy with that level of quickness inside, a lot of slot receivers or slot cornerbacks, are sort of designed that way. Those guys don't have the long speed to be able to match him deep down the field. And the thing is, I think the Chiefs are unlocking all of those different areas of his game. They're developing him. He's getting more complete as a weapon, and as a usage pattern is getting more complete. And that's what's really scary is he's becoming a bigger problem for defenses.
Though you talked about the pass rush, what I'd say about Tampa, we saw it against Green Bay. They can get their pass rush from Shaquille Barrett and Jason Pierre-Paul, and they've got some stud linebackers in Devin White and Levante David. I think that's really their only shot, right?
And Fisher's going to be out.
Yeah, that Chiefs offensive line is not good on paper right now. They've been banged up. They've been forced into the bench. They're running backups almost across the board at this point. It is definitely a weakness on paper. The problem is that all the things that offense does in terms of scheme and quick passes and moving Mahomes and all these things that make the scheme and Mahomes looks so good, it also protects the offensive line. So it's like a double boost from the scheme, and makes it very difficult to just win against what should be a weakness on paper. They're protecting those offensive linemen pretty well just from what they do already. But I do agree that if the Bucs are going to win this game, that needs to be a matchup that tilts in their favor. Against Green Bay is interesting because they got a ton of pressure by blitzing Aaron Rodgers. They blitzed him a lot across those two games, and it worked. The Packers never quite understood where the blitzes were coming from and how to deal with them. I suspect Kansas City will. You know, we talked before about how Mahomes has a passer rating of like 136 against the blitz this season. Absurd. It hasn't been a good idea to attack him that way, but it might be the best option that the Bucs have.
You know, the number that I just can't fathom is what Brady's done. We just talked about Mahomes. Okay, he's in his second Super Bowl. Rodgers is going to the Hall of Fame, going to win the MVP. He's been to one Super Bowl in 15 years, and Brady's been to 10. That's just an absurd number, especially when you consider, he goes to the Super Bowl in his first year with a new team. Now, granted, he had weapons, but it's not easy to do. New system, new players, new coaching staff. When I talk to my buddies about it, especially my buddies who are up in Boston, they can't even believe that Brady went to Tampa and he's in another Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. You're not supposed to be able to do that. You look throughout the NFL, Rodgers is a great example. Breeze is another one. It isn't easy to make a Super Bowl, let alone win one. Rodgers and Breeze have each only done it once. They've only got to the big game one time, and those are two of the greatest quarterbacks the game has ever seen. So we get jaded to this idea of how easy Tom Brady has made it look. And look, wins are not a quarterback statistic. It's a team game, and the New England Patriots and Bill Belichick place an incredible environment around Tom Brady, certainly for the first half of his career, before I think he became the driving force on the second half of his career. But the fact that he's then uprooted, gone to Tampa Bay, and taken a different franchise to the Super Bowl does incredible things for his legacy and for that narrative and for the idea that, look, Brady is the driving force behind everything. And it is incredible. It's not supposed to happen. Joe Montana came close, right? Joe Montana went to Kansas City, took them to an AFC Championship game, but came up one step short. Brady has gotten the Bucs, who were 7-9 a year ago, to the Super Bowl. And that at 43 years old, it is ridiculous.
I would say Peyton did it with Denver, a little bit of a different situation. Sure. Took him to the Super Bowl twice in his run there, but he was also a lot younger.
Yeah, and the Broncos did genuinely have an incredible roster around Peyton Manning. I think the situation in Denver was better from the get-go than the Tampa Bay situation was. Like, the Bucs have made some nice additions. It certainly helped. Drafting Tristan Wirfs in the first round was huge. Bringing in Antonio Brown midway through the season, Gronk unretiring. But all these things happened after Brady arrived. Like, Brady wasn't going to the Bucs with the knowledge that Gronk was coming, Antonio Brown was arriving, and your right tackle would be like a Pro Bowl, All-Pro caliber right tackle from day one. At the time he was there, right tackle looked like a significant problem, and they didn't have a couple of those weapons. So, yeah, the Denver deal with Peyton Manning, again, Manning's one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever do it, so that's definitely a big part of his legacy. But for Brady to do what he's doing at 43 is genuinely absurd.